The Nigerian Professionals Network in Washington, D.C. hosted a special event for the Executive Governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki. The event, themed Conversation on Nigeria's Development, aims to explore how Nigerians living abroad can contribute to national progress.
Nurturing Nigeria's Future initiative is basically geared towards seeing how we can leverage the resources of Nigerians in the diaspora to support economic and social development of the country. And it's a series. This is the fourth we are having in the last 7 months. We've had in London, we've had in New York, we've had in DC, and in the next 6 months we'll be going to Switzerland. We'll also be going back to London, and we'll also be going to Dubai.
Stakeholders present discussed various aspects of Nigeria's development, focusing on Edo State and opportunities to further growth.
Which is like the one thing you will say, this is my legacy as I'm stepping a little bit away from active combat, as it were, in Edo State.
I got into office in 2016 at the height of a depression, economic recession. But beyond that, we also had a crisis in the state. A human capacity, I would say human capacity, a human crisis. Edo at that time became, known for human trafficking and irregular migration. We were number one on the continent.
Okay.
The situation was that bad that in February 2017, I got a report from the International Office on Migration that there were over 30,000 young Edo boys and girls in India trying to cross into Europe. So can you imagine how many would have died? And I mean, that was a humanitarian crisis. And I said, why my people? What had gone wrong? Why were young people just opting to leave home at any cost, with all that risk? And I think that lays the basis for all the reforms that subsequently took.
For the past 4 or 5 years, I'd say, I've been trying, and it's not just myself, I've got partners that I work with in Nigeria who are also medical doctors in different specialties. We've been attempting to build something that something looks like a hospital, right? And we want to make it accessible to the average Nigerian person who doesn't have medical aid or insurance. And it's been a struggle. So the issue of access has come up. And I'm glad she brought that up because it's a big struggle for us. So I'd like to know from your end, what do you think would be the best ways that we could be supported? And not just myself, I think anybody else who's doing anything like that in Nigeria. Thank you.
Yes, we found a few institutions, financial investors who have come up to invest in the infrastructure or build the hospitals and say, okay, doctors, come with your specialization, come and locate in our hospitals. We'll use our billing systems, use our marketing. It will send referral patients to you like it's done everywhere else, and they'll pay. I think for us in Edo, that's the model. So look, let's focus on the neighborhood clinics. That's your first port of call, and that's people don't go to hospitals or clinics because they can't pay, or they feel they can't afford to pay. So they'll manage the pain until it gets out of hand. Whereas if they're gone for early screening or early contact, they would have found this disease and dealt with them. So the first thing we're trying to do as government is just give people that rest of mind. That look, by just paying 50 naira a day or 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira a month, you get cover. It's not a lot, and it just gives you access to, because access is key. So that you're able to play, oh wow. So when the nurse doesn't see Mama, you say, Mama, come. How are you today? Let me just test your blood pressure and see how it is and all of that stuff. You get so access, getting people to have touch points with the healthcare system is important.
So the one thing I want to ask, because I mean, sitting from behind, we don't really know what goes on behind the scene. We know everybody goes to Abuja to collect federal allocation. So the one thing I want to ask is, are there actually any barriers to your own state development that you did? Does the federal government prevent any of that? So this is just me just trying to understand, like from the political landscape.
There are no barriers in real terms, but there are barriers in the mind. The more I can generate revenues to provide more supportive services, the bigger my economy grows. So from that standpoint, there's no barrier. But there are limitations within a federal arrangement. Take, for instance, issues of monetary issues, exchange rate issues. These are things that could limit our ability as a state to do much more than, a coach.
My question is about funding for grassroots civil society groups and nonprofits. Oftentimes I hear a lot of case being made for the startups and the infrastructure projects, but oftentimes we lose sight of nonprofit as the last mile they say to the citizens of the state. Do you have a strategy? Do you have a fund? Can we invest, like impact investing into such a fund and help you raise capital if you need one?
Unlike here, where there's a lot of charitable giving, people want to support the cause. We don't have too much of that in Nigeria. The other issue is usually these groups want to be independent because their credibility is usually dependent on how objective they're perceived to be.
Are there like any policies or any things that are being put in place to kind of give that kind of visibility to such information that could potentially, because for instance, if I know that if I'm not PDP or APC, I can still contest in a local government election and there is a high win rate, that's the kind of information that kind of data can give. So is this something that has come up and, would there be plans to have this kind of visibility?
The one major challenge we have, I'll tell you as a governor, is data. And data ties into transparency and accountability. So, yes, in country, there have been efforts too, but it's not been as successful as in some other countries, because for a while we just kept people were just doing what they like, right? So the banks hold a certain set of data, the immigration holds another set of data, INEC holds a set of data, but I think there's been some move towards the convergence of these national databases. Data in itself, it's people that collect data, it's people that are relying on cleanup, right? And there must be some order to it. And that's, I believe, that is being fashioned now because we now understand the value of this information.
In recognition of Governor Godwin Obaseki's commitment, vision and achievements over the past 8 years, Governor Obaseki was presented with a special award and certificate.
Your Excellency, we want to recognize your visionary leadership, transformative governance, and unwavering commitment to the development of Edo State. On behalf of the Nigerian Professional Network, I'd like to present this special recognition award presented to His Excellency Governor Godwin Obaseki, Executive Governor of Edo State, as a testament to your visionary leadership, dedication, commitment, and courage. Thank you. Certificate also. This is to validate.
Governor Obaseki expressed appreciation for the attention and support from Nigerians in the diaspora, noting the importance of their involvement in efforts to improve their homeland.
Well, thank you very much. It's indeed very, very reassuring that out here somewhere, people have taken time out and diligently watched what's going on at home. I think you're in the best position to be objective judges on how much progress or how much difference we have made in Nigeria and in Edo State in particular. Yes, there's been quite a bit of a backlash politically, but you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. It's what they call politics. But I think what's important at the end of the day is to sit back and reflect and say, did we make meaningful changes? These changes that we have made, how impactful will it be to our people, our citizens, both now and particularly in the long term? And so I want to acknowledge, what you have done today and say, don't despair, don't be afraid because of criticisms. Sometimes they're real, they're genuine, most times they're uninformed. Don't let it deter you. I think just keep your eyes on the ball and say to yourself, what's my purpose in life? What difference can I and should I make ultimately? But as Africans, as Nigerians, let us always know that we owe ourselves and the world a responsibility. We cannot continue to talk about marginalization if we do things that marginalize us. So, thank you. See you.
Sound. Irene Ejoba, PFM TV News.